Location, location, location. A Vampire the Masquerade story. Tobias Toby Chesterfield was waiting on the front stoop of the Mansfield place when the silver sedan pulled past the gate and into the driveway. The soft purr of the engine quieted, and the driver got out. Tall and sleek, dressed in a black pantsuit, Lilian Vazquez had a presence that you could feel at 15 paces. Toby ran a hand back through his thick, chestnut hair and put his 1,000-watt smile on his face as she mounted the steps.
"This is the place you mentioned?"
she asked. Her voice was carefully neutral, but one manicured eyebrow lifted skeptically. "Hey, don't judge a book by its cover," Toby said, opening the front door. The intricately carved piece had faded with time and exposure to the elements, but the dark stain still gave it a gothic air. "Step inside, let me show you some of the Mansfield secrets." As Toby led his client through the building, he began telling its tale. The manor house was built back near the turn of the century, the materials brought in from long-defunct factories and mills across the valley. Mansfield, an entrepreneur and eccentric, built the house into the side of the mountain. The rooms were tacked on seemingly at random, and there were secret passages he could use to move unseen from one part of the structure to another. When he died under mysterious circumstances, the house and its valuables were sold to cover his debts. While there had been various owners, ranging from tycoons looking for summer homes, to celebrities who wanted to show off, to one or two famous artists who sought isolation for their work, the Mansfield place was never in one person's possession for any great length of time. Murders, suicides, paranoia, and more had seeped into the very boards, according to some, and its market share had dropped lower and lower the longer it stayed vacant. These days it wasn't even on the sheets. Most agents had given up trying to sell the place entirely.
"That's all very interesting,"
Lilian said, though the tone of her voice suggested otherwise. "You gave me a rather long list of requirements for a property," Toby said, crossing the empty parlor to an impressive fireplace. It needed to be within the limits of a town, but no nearby neighbors, large but not easily found by main roads, and it needed to have few, if any, windows that faced east or west. This place, difficult as it was to locate, meets all the requirements you gave me.
"All but the most important,"
Lilian said, folding her arms. She frowned, but Toby smiled at her. "You judge me too harshly," Toby said, resting a hand on the mantel. "As soon as you told me that you wanted a property that had a private space that would be impossible for outsiders to locate, I remembered another story. One that doesn't get told much unless you're a local who grew up around here." Toby bent down and reached up inside the fireplace. There was a loud thunk somewhere behind the fireplace. Taking out a handkerchief, Toby wiped the dirt and dust off his hand before pressing on the wall. It slid aside, revealing a stone spiral staircase that went down into the mountain. He beamed like a kid at show and tell, took out his phone, and turned on the flashlight. "I saved the best for last," he said. Toby led the way down the stairs, the bright, white light of his phone bobbing. Lilian's heels clicked on the stairs behind him. Niches in the wall bore pools of melted wax, and black soot marks from long-forgotten candles marred the stone. There were even rusty iron hooks that still held lanterns in some places. None of them had been lit in what looked like a century. After a single turn, the stairs ended at a landing and an arched doorway. Toby stepped through, and Lilian gasped. It was the first reaction he'd heard out of her the entire tour. "I couldn't have said it better myself," Toby said, raising his phone and playing it over the space. Natural rock walls curved outward, and veins of lighter-colored stone ran through them. A stream cut through the place, burbling and babbling pleasantly as it went. A beautifully carved fireplace that was the twin of the one above, but for the figure of a woman carved above it, was the room's central feature, and there were stains where it looked like rugs and furniture had once sat. Stone caskets were arranged along the far end of the room in a neat row. Mansfield was a long-term thinker. He had a place for himself, his wife, and their children prepared. Sadly, he never found a wife, and almost nobody ever found out about this place.
"And how did you find it, exactly?"
Lilian asked. "My best friend's older brother came into the house on a dare when he was in high school," Toby said. He put one hand on the fireplace, looking up at the woman carved there. An absolute downpour opened up outside. It was cold, so he decided to build a fire and wait it out. He reached up too high and found the switch by accident. Told me and my friend about it, but Charlie was never brassy enough to come in here and find out for himself whether his brother was pulling his leg or not. Lilian didn't say anything after that, but Toby had a feeling he'd clinched the sale. She shook his hand and gave him a small smile, assuring him she'd give him a call by tomorrow morning regarding her client's interests. Then she got back into her car and headed back out onto the road. As soon as she was out of sight, Lilian hit the first speed dial on her phone. The call was answered immediately by a rough, purring voice. A voice that didn't even pretend to sound human.
Yes.
The creature known only as the Tainted asked.
We found it, Master,
Lilian said.
It's perfect.
Silence hummed on the line for a long moment. Then the kindred asked,
And the one who provided?
Lilian pursed her lips. She took the switchback turns with ease, frowning at the rain falling on her windshield.
He would make a fine caretaker for the estate,
She said.
in my estimation.
Very well.
The Tainted said.
I will make arrangements.